Oh my god, so stressful. Oh my god. Huh? No internet? Seriously? What is this, guys? What is this? Oh, mother. Seriously, no internet, guys? Yeah. There's no. You don't have any internet? Yeah. No, this is E. What is this? Me too. E. Yes. Do you guys know what is life with the internet? What's that? What is that? Let's go. Do you guys know?
Hi, what's your name?
My name is Ellie.
Okay, I want to ask you a big question. Okay, so first of all, how would your day change without the internet?
My day would slow down a lot. I could have to do things manually, like checking the news or calling people instead of messaging.
Okay, next question. What part of life would be hardest without the internet?
Work and communication would be the hardest. Many jobs rely on the internet and it is so easy to keep in touch with people online.
Thank you. Hi, what's your name?
My name is Lukman.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. So question one, what do you mostly use the internet for?
I mostly use for work, social media and entertainment like watching videos or playing games.
How would you keep in touch with people without it?
I probably call or send letter more often and I meet people in person more when possible.
Okay, thank you.
Alright, no problem.
Hi, what is your name?
Hi, my name is Farhana binti Muhammad Azri. You can call me Fatih.
Okay, so we are going to ask you questions. So the first question, what would you do for fun without the internet?
I probably read more books, spend more time outdoor, or hang out with my friend and family.
Second question, how would school or learning change without online tools?
It will go back to using books, libraries, and teachers a lot more. Learning might be slower, but more hand-on.
Okay, thank you. Hello and welcome to Minah Talk Show. I'm your host, Farhana, and I'm excited to guide you through today's episode. We have fascinating discussion ahead about what life would be without the internet. In a world where we rely on being constantly connected from work to stay in touch with our loved ones. Today, we are going to explore how different things would be without it. We have got some amazing guests, so let's jump right in.
Hi everyone, I am Walin and this week I am invited to attend Minah's talk show. I will give my opinion and we will bring some powerful insights to the talk about the interesting topic regarding life without internet. But I am not lonely because I go with Hidayah. So this is Hidayah. Hi, I'm Hidayah and I have the same purpose with Walin. So see you guys in the talk show. Don't forget to wait for our talks. Bye.
So, I'm going to invite our guests for today. Please come in, Walin and Hidayah. Hi. Please have a seat, Walin and Hidayah. Thank you. How are you guys?
I am fine, thank you for asking me.
First of all, please introduce yourself, Walin and Hidayah.
Hi, my name is Walin and I am from Kelantan. I am a math teacher in Pasir Mas, Kelantan.
Okay, and me, my name is Hidayah binti Azizali. I am from Selangor and I'm also the math teacher by in the Bukit Bintang.
Welcome to Minah Talk Show, where we dive deep into the topics that shape our everyday life. I am Farhana, and we have fascinating discussion ahead of us, life without the internet. Yes, we are going to explore what our world would look like without the internet, both the challenge and perhaps a few unexpected benefits. Joining me tonight are two amazing guests. Let's welcome Walin, a mathematics teacher from Pasir Mas, Kelantan, and we also have Hidayah, a mathematics teacher from Bukit Bintang. Thank you, both of you, for joining today's episode.
Thanks for having me. I am excited to be here.
Yes, it's a pleasure.
So, let's start with the big one. We have become so reliant on the internet for everything. Communication, work, entertainment, or learning. But what would our life be like without it, Walin? If we wake up tomorrow and the internet was gone, what's the first big impact we would see?
Oh, the first thing we will notice is communication. Think about it. Most of us use messaging apps, emails, and video calls to stay connected with friends, family, and colleagues. Without the internet, we would be back to rely on phone calls and even, can you imagine letters? Businesses would also struggle to communicate globally in real time, which could bring a lot of industries to stand still, at least initially.
Letters and phone calls? Wow, that's a massive shift, Walin. As someone who is been deeply in love in technology, what do you think would happen to the business world, Hidayah?
Yes, thank you. It would be chaotic to say the least. Most businesses today depend on the internet, not just for communication, but for transaction, marketing, even basic operation. E-commerce will disappear overnight. That is Amazon, online banking, booking flights, even food delivery apps. Companies will have to revert to older methods, fax machine, in-person meetings, and actual paper records. Productivity will drop significantly, especially for international trade and remote work.
Remote work, that is became such a big part of life, especially post-pandemic. Without the internet, remote working would be virtually impossible, right, Walin?
Exactly. The entire remote work culture that we have developed would collapse. Video conferencing platforms like Zoom or Google Meet wouldn't exist. Do you agree?
Yes, I agree with you.
Even basic email coordination would be much slower. So companies would either have to require employees to come into the office every day or go back to traditional phone-based communications. In-person interactions would definitely make a comeback.
And what about learning? So much of education is now online. Students attending virtual classes, doing research, watching lectures on YouTube. what happened to education without the internet?
Education would definitely take a hit. Online learning platforms like Google Classroom, Kahoot, and Quizzes will disappear. School will have to fully rely on in-person teaching. Research will be slower too. No more access to online journals or instant searches for information. Students will have to go back to physical libraries and textbooks just like the old days.
We need a research project with a Google. Speaking of entertainment, let's talk about that next. The internet is such a big part of how we relax, streaming movies, scrolling through social media. Walin, what would happen to our free time without it?
Well, for starters, streaming services like Netflix, YouTube, and Spotify would be gone. People would return to more traditional forms of entertainment like TV, DVDs, and CDs. Even going back to movie theaters more often. Social media, which dominates so many people's free time, would disappear too. It might actually improve mental health for some people. There would be fewer distractions, less comparison, and more focus on real-world relationships and hobbies.
So we could see people going outside more, picking up hobbies, and spending quality times in the real world.
Definitely, people might spend more time reading, cooking, exercising, or pursuing creative activities. We might even see more social gatherings as people who want to connect face to face.
That could be a refreshing change. Hidayah, how about the financial world? I can imagine life without online banking, digital payments, or stock trading apps.
Yes, it will be a huge challenge. All digital banking, mobile payment apps, and online stock trading platforms will vanish. People will need to visit banks physically for transaction, use cash more frequently, or rely on checks. The pace of financial transaction will slow down dramatically, and global markets will face delays. The convenience we have grown accustomed to with just a few clicks would be gone.
So, no more instant money transfer or mobile payments? It sounds like a logistical nightmare. But could there be any upsides? Is there anything positive about the life with the internet?
There definitely are some benefits. For one, we would likely see a reduction in information overload. With the internet, we are constantly bombarded with news, updates, emails, and notifications. Without it, people might experience more peace of mind, less anxiety about staying constantly connected, and more time focused on their immediate surroundings.
I agree. It will also force people to be more international with their time. Without endless scrolling through social media or binge watching, people might engage in more meaningful activities, whether that's spending time with loved ones, picking up new skills, or just being present in the moment.
It sounds like life without the internet would definitely slow things down, but in a way that might help us reconnect with the real world. But of course, we would also lose so much of the convenience and connectivity we have come to rely on. Before we wrap up, one question for both of you. Do you think society could ever thrive without the internet again if it were taken away?
I think society could adapt, but it would take a lot of time. We would see a massive culture shift back to slower, more deliberate ways of living. It could be a more connected world in some way locally, but we would lose the global interconnectedness we have now.
Alright, for me, I think we could survive, but thriving would be a different story. So many industries, systems, and people are deeply dependent on the internet now. It will take years, maybe decades, to fully recover. The transition will be painful, but it will also open up new possibilities for creativity and innovation. Just in a
Fascinating perspective. Thank you both, Walin and Hidayah, for sharing your insight with us tonight. Life without the internet is something few of us have ever seriously considered. But as we have learned, it is a scenario with both challenges and surprising silver lining.
It's been a pleasure. I am very interested in today's topic.
yes, thanks for having us for this topic today.
Hi, welcome to episode 2 of Minah Talk Show. Today, we could not film our talk show at the studio because our studio was under maintenance. Our today's show had to be continued on the online meeting medium. We are diving into what life might look like if the internet just disappeared tomorrow. What would change? How would we cope? Joining me today, we have two same amazing guests with different perspective. We have Walin and Hidayah. Both is a mathematics teacher. Let's dive in again. Walin, let's start with you. From a technology standpoint, how would life as we know it change if the internet were to disappear?
Hi, thanks for having me again for the second time. Well, that is a good question. First of all, we would see an immediate help in many industries, communication, finance, even healthcare. So much relies on internet nowadays. Businesses would struggle to function without real-time communication and digital infrastructure. We would be back to the old version, but on the flip side, it might push us to innovate in offline technologies again.
Fascinating. That's a great point from you, Walin. As we know, nowadays business rely on the internet so much. Hidayah, from your perspective, how would losing the internet affect people emotionally and mentally? Would it be liberating or terrifying?
Okay, thank you for giving me opportunity to give my opinion. Talking about this issue, I think it is both of them. I would say, why? Is it because we have become incredibly dependent on the internet for connection, entertainment, and even validation without us noticing it? So, there are a lot disadvantages for humans, and many people might experience withdrawal-like symptoms such as anxiety, irritability, maybe even a sense of loss. However, after the initial shock, we might see people reconnecting more in person, communicating more with people surrounding, and engaging in activities they used to enjoy before the internet took over our daily lives. Social bonds could strengthen with each other when we are talking, when we are communicating, and some people might discover a slower and more mindful way of living. That's all from me.
That is an interesting point. So, could we say that people are addicted to the internet in a way? How do you think people would adjust? Walin?
Absolutely. We have built so many aspects of our identity and daily routines around the internet. For example, social media gives us instant validation and all information we get through internet. But over the time, as people learn to live without it, they might experience lower level of stress and anxiety because they are no longer bombarded by constant notifications and news.
That sounds like quite an emotional roller coaster. I couldn't imagine how my life would be without social media. It is part of my life now. My life might be bored without it. Now, Hidayah, how long do you think it would take for society to adapt to this sudden internet blackout? Are we prepared in any way?
Alright, for me, that is the top part of this talking show. We as the new generation are really not prepared yet. Maybe older generations who live without the internet would apart more quickly. But younger generation like Gen Z or Gen Alpha who have never known life without the internet would have a harder learning curve, and they will have a bit difficulties to adapt with this kind of lifestyle. It may give them severe depression and stress if they could not spend their time with scrolling through social media or chatting with their friends. In terms of businesses and global infrastructure, it would take years to fully adjust to the new environment without any technology. We need to develop new communication systems, restructure the economies, and figure out how to share information more effectively offline, just like the old days, for example, using the pigeon messenger.
I agree with your point. I would be stressed too if my phone doesn't have any internet connection. So we are talking about a complete restructuring of society as we know it. Walin, how do you think this shift will impact our sense of community and social interaction? Would losing online connections strengthen in-person bond?
It's likely people might initially feel isolated, especially those who rely on online communities for social support. But as time goes on, I think they will be okay. Neighbors might talk more, families might spend more time together, and we could see a return to face interactions. It might even encourage people to take up hobbies or activities they have neglected because of their time spent online.
Interesting. I think I will also always going out and breathe some fresh air outside. Talk to my neighbors and picking up a new hobby rather than lying in bed and scrolling through social media. So, to wrap things up, let's fast forward into this. Hidayah, what do you think our world would look like after a year without internet? I'm curious too.
After a year, I think we see a mix of chaos and creativity. Some industry might have collapsed and be gone forever, but don't worry, new system and technology would emerge to replace what we have lost before. In near future, we likely see a return to more analog methods, and maybe paper-based system in school and businesses would be used more in the near future. People would be forced to innovate or make a change for something new, which it is also for their own good without even they realizing. We also have a lot more human interaction that maybe can help them to improve their social skill. And yeah, that could be a silver lining, right?
Wow, you are totally right, Hidayah. We would go back to the old ways, just like when there is no smartphones. And student also doesn't need to attend any online classes and just go to face class. And now, Walin, what about from a mental health perspective? How would people be doing after a year?
I think after the initial shock, many people might find themselves happier and less stressed. There would be fewer distractions, less information overload, and a return to simpler forms of communication. But it wouldn't be easy for everyone. There would likely be some emotional fallout, especially for people who have built their lives around online platforms. However, we will eventually adapt with it.
Well, thank you both of you for this amazing talk. It is incredible to think about how much our world is shaped by the internet and what life would look like without it. I am sure we all have learned something today. Thanks to our guests Walin and Hidayah for sharing their opinion and spending time with us today. And thank you to our audience for tuning in. I hope we all got something new to learn from this talk show. Until next time, keep wondering what life could be like, both online and offline. Take care, and until we meet again in Minah Talk Show. Bye!
Well, we still have it.
For a while, we will see. We would likely to see.
Keep us for this talk show. What do you think life would be like without the internet? Could you handle it? Let us know on social media while we still have it. Aku kata gelak. Aku kata gelak. Aku tak ada sekali. Dah ke? Dah ke? Okay.
Do you guys know?